the Jessica Rabbit of country music. The lady that puts show in show business. Showtime! She makes you laugh, she makes you cry.
Got about 3,000 records.
Have it up. Yeah, just tell us.
She's mad.
What can you say? She's Dolly.
Dolly Parton, the Queen of Country Music, is back in the UK for a series of triumphant concerts after an absence from the stage that's lasted nearly 20 years.
I do a pretty good Jolene on karaoke nights.
You do? Although she's Nashville's first showbiz superstar, with a face and a body known all over the world, for the last decade her music has rarely been played on the radio. 3 years ago, she mounted an extraordinary comeback with a return to her roots, a series of albums celebrating the bluegrass music she grew up with in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee.
You thought these were the Great Smoky Mountains, didn't you?
I really figured it'd be the guy on my record. Yeah, Dolly Parton's feeling cool.
She's the hardest working woman in show business, a powerful businesswoman, and a singer who manages to be intimate with millions. An all-American icon with international appeal.
I'm Dolly Parton.
The original platinum blonde.
If you want the rainbow, you've got to put up with the rain. Do you know which philosopher said that? Dolly Parton.
But you know, I was born and raised in Tennessee. We didn't have anything money could buy. In fact, we was pretty poor. Folks on welfare used to bring us stuff. And I ain't kidding either. We used to toss a coin, see who was going to get to wear the good dress to school. My brothers didn't like it when they won. In my Tennessee mountain home, life is as peaceful as a baby's cry. In my Tennessee mountain home, crickets sing in the fields nearby.
Dolly's early life could have come straight out of a country song. The fourth of 12 children, she was born in 1946 to Scots Irish sharecropper Robert and his half-Cherokee wife Avie Lee into a life of grinding poverty. Dolly's family had no electricity or running water in her early childhood. As a sharecropper, her father worked a plot of land in return for a share of the crops. Even in a good year, they had barely enough to live on.
My folks were just simple, poor mountain people. We lived on farms, so we grew our own hogs for our own meat. We had our own milk cows. We had to do the milking. We had our own chickens. We all had our chores to do. Our lives were very, very hard, more so than you might know or that I can even say. Mom was 15 and Daddy was 17 when they married. My dad wasn't able to read and write. He never went to school. Most people back in the mountains like that, they all have big families. My dad's from like a family of 15, and most of those kids have to, when they get big enough, go to work in the fields and work to get food on the table for the rest of them. But he was real smart. Numbers he knew. I mean, we didn't have any money, but what little he had, but he could count it like that in his head. There was music always in our family from my mother's people. They all played some sort of musical instrument. We'd sit on the porch or sit around the heater in the wintertime singing and picking.
She made her first guitar. Now, it wasn't no beauty, but she found some old strings that her Uncle Bill had took off of a guitar. And so she strung her up a guitar on something or other, and she'd plunk on it and made her first song before she was 7 years old.
I think being the fourth one down, I didn't get paid a lot of attention. I was the kind of kid that needed a lot of attention. And Mom and Daddy loved us all. They loved us all the same, but we didn't get picked up or singled out unless we was in trouble or sick. So I would use my music. I would take my guitar and I would just kind of go off to myself or go up in the woods or go up sit for the barn, entertain the pigs and chickens. And so when other people would come to visit us, I'd just sing something I'd written or sing a song I knew. And people would say, well, that is really good. And so then I'd realize I was doing something good, so it made me want to get better and better because I was getting more attention now than the other kids.
Dolly sung all the time. She's washing dishes or whatever. She just loved to sing, and she loved it so good
And she never had to beg her to sing, because you'd say, you asked her to sing when she was ready.
I was up at her house one night, and I heard her in the kitchen washing dishes and singing. And I thought to myself, wow, that's good, you know. So I went in there and talked to her, and I was working on a radio station in Knoxville.
At the age of 10, Uncle Bill took Dolly to Knoxville to meet Kaz Walker, a grocery store magnate who sponsored the Farm and Home Hour on local radio. He gave Dolly her first chance to perform live, an opportunity that she seized with both hands.
Dolly Parton, darling. What's the plan, darling?
When she sung that first song, everybody in the radio studio upstairs left all the equipment and everything to come down and see what she looked like. She really got their attention. They left their jobs, and the secretaries and everybody come downstairs to see who this girl was. You know.
And I remember I had to sing the same song about 3 or 4 times, and I mean, that to me, that's the most exciting thing. It's like that they loved me that good. And I remember my uncle and I were going back to his old beat-up car to go back home. I remember looking up at him and saying, I'm going to be a star, you know, because I can do it, can't I? They like me, don't they? So that was the moment that I realized that I was never going back, that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life.
Dolly Parton singing for us.
A year later, Dolly cut her first single, co-written with Uncle Bill.
My first little record was on Gold Band Records. That's when I was little, like 10, 11. It was called Puppy Love. Not the famous one, the unfamous one.
It wasn't no hit, but it was our first record, and we was proud of it, you know.
Dolly spent much of her teenage years on the road with her uncle, performing at local country fairs and pushing demos. She continued to appear on Kaz Walker's radio shows and later on his local TV program. Dolly was the first of her family to go to high school in the conservative town of Sevierville. It was here that she began to cultivate a look that singled her out.
There was this woman in our hometown, and she was called a loose woman. She had short skirts. She had beautiful skin, almost like she wore hose. I mean, I remember so plain. She had red toenails, red fingernails, bleached hair, red lipstick, and I just thought she was beautiful. And I remember saying, oh, she's so pretty, she's so pretty. Mama would say, oh, she is just trash. And so I thought in my mind, that's what I want to be when I grow up, trash. I was very unusual at a very early age, and my grandpa being a Pentecostal preacher, me looking like I wanted to look. I wanted my hair bleached, I wanted to wear makeup, I wanted to wear tight clothes, and that was a no in our religion. But I would talk Mama into helping me, like if I wanted to say, Mama, would you put some pads underneath my bra so I could push them up a little bit? And she, you better never tell your daddy I did that. She'd do it, though. In between times, I would go back and forth to Nashville with my uncle. Like every several months, we'd take a bunch of songs there, try to get me on record.
It was tough. There just wasn't a whole lot of girl singers that actually was out there. They really had to believe in you before they'd record you as a girl.
The day after she graduated high school, Dolly left home for good and arrived in Nashville with no money and a burning ambition. The same day she stepped off the bus, she met a young blade called Carl Dean at Wishy Washy Laundromat. And one aspect of her future was sealed. They married 2 years later. But marriage wasn't going to change Dolly's drive and ambition. She told Carl the day they met that her career would always come first.
When Dolly arrived in Nashville in 1964, there were really only 2 role models, the 2 large role models to go by, and that was Kitty Wells, who represented the old-fashioned Appalachian fervor style. The other role model was Patsy Cline, the ballsy, aggressive singer. There really weren't a lot of female stars. Because it was so prejudiced against women, you had to be twice as good as a man to make it.
Being a woman served me well. You know, it's like some women say, oh, it was so hard being a woman. But I also had all those brothers, my dad and all my uncles that I was close to, so I understood how men were. I loved men. They didn't scare me in any way. I had a lot of confidence in myself. And so I just kind of made it all work for me. And I wasn't too bad looking at that time.